Hello and welcome to Talk Truth. My name is Corey Huntsberger. I have my father, Alan Huntsberger, in the studio. And Dad, I'm excited about our guest. It's been a while, but he's back because he's been super busy. We had his lawyer on the other day, and now he's back. We got Dr. William Makis. Dr. Makis, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You are, well, one, you're one of our favorites. I mean, our viewing audience absolutely loves you. And I know you know this because of the following that you got on social media, on your Substack. It's growing, it's booming. You're getting invited to speak it with Alex Jones on his show. I mean, it's just going so well for you. But what's funny is you're not the typical type, doctor kind of guy. Like, you're not afraid to fight back. You're not afraid to speak truth. And when you do that, you get targeted, like majorly. And that's kind of really what we wanted to talk about today. We wanted to find out, one, how are you doing? How are things going? But we wanted to talk about your case that's going on. Why are they targeting you? What and how they're doing it is just so ridiculous. It's hilarious almost. It's clownish, to be honest with you. But first of all, I'll just start. How are you doing? How's it going?
Well, I'm doing great. Fortunately, we've been really, really busy with the clinic and with cancer patients. I have a lot of neurological patients, patients with Parkinson's and dementia, and patients with autoimmune diseases, and so the attacks from the government haven't slowed us down at all. If anything, we're busier. We're busier than ever. But I've been running this clinic for about a year now, helping patients as a health coach. I don't prescribe, I don't give diagnosis, but I help patients with ivermectin, with fenbendazole, with mebendazole, these antiparasitic drugs that have all kinds of other health benefits. And so I've been helping patients for about a year now, thousands of patients. We have a huge, huge clientele. And the government's been trying to shut me down almost since day one. It's just because I have such a large following, they're trying to do it very quietly. They're trying to do it so that Albertans don't realize what's going on. So initially, the college sent the police to my house 4 days after I started my clinic. And they sent the police, two officers, Edmonton police officers in full tactical gear, on a Sunday afternoon to intimidate my wife, to intimidate my children. My wife is like, "What's going on? What are you doing here?" They had no explanation. They just said the college sent us. And we're making some bogus claims that I had made some phone calls to the college and that they, were threatened and all this. And they make this stuff up. But it was a show of force, of intimidation. And then they spent about a half a year trying to bankrupt me. And they were extorting me with fake court costs and court penalties. And at some point, once Danielle Smith, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, secured her 91%, within a week, her bureaucrats at Alberta Health Services filed a court application to have me thrown in prison. And so I hired a lawyer, a freedom lawyer, James Kitchen. He fought for me for over half a year, got that bogus court application eventually thrown out. We had to make all kinds of payments, extortion payments to Alberta Health Services. Then they froze my Stripe account, thinking that that was my source of income. So they put in a court order to freeze my Stripe account. Now Stripe is a payment provider like, PayPal and so on that's used even by, Elon Musk. It's used by GiveSendGo. So they froze my GiveSendGo when I was trying to raise, funds for my legal defense. So they froze my ability to defend myself while trying to bankrupt my family. And in fact, Alberta Premier Danielle Smith's team did an asset search of all my assets to see what they could come after. And I told the public, Premier Danielle Smith is doing this to my family. They're like, no, she couldn't possibly. We love her. She's going to save us. She's going to save Alberta. And shame on you for attacking Premier Smith. And this is, the college and AHS and so on. They all report to Danielle Smith at this point, right? And again, emails from my emails to her office were in the court documents as sworn affidavits. They had stamps of Alberta Health Services lawyers all over them. She's directly involved in trying to bury me and my family, destroy my cancer clinic, and basically hurt my cancer patients. And she's been doing this for almost a year now, and Albertans won't believe it. They refuse to believe it.
Can you tell us why? Why do you think that is?
I think you can see that Premier Danielle Smith hasn't touched the COVID vaccines, for example. And so Alberta is still injecting babies as young as 6 months old with at least three COVID shots. If you follow the vaccination schedule, put out by Alberta Health Services and the Alberta government, Ministry of Health, they're still recommending three injections for every baby 6 months or older of the latest, greatest COVID vaccine. And so I think the healthcare mafia in Alberta is extremely strong. They control half the Alberta budget. They get about, I think it's now $26 billion a year. And they don't even give financial statements to the government. They take the money and say, okay, now you can disappear and we'll do with the money what we want. I think it's one of the most powerful mafias in all of Canada. And they do what they want, really. And so I think Danielle Smith, she's either told to go along or they might, I don't know what they'll do to her, but I think she has to go along. I think they're far more powerful than really the premier's office. And so she goes along with these things, which don't make sense because, she'll go publicly and say, oh, we should get boys out of, girls' sports and everyone cheers. Oh my, you're incredible. Or, in the beginning, she apologized to the unvaccinated. But I always tell people, but look at her actions, not her words. Ignore her words because she's a wonderful speaker. She's terrific at the political speeches and theater and so on. But look at her actions. What are her actions? And one of the latest actions, I mean, other than saying she's going to bring 5 million immigrants to Alberta and double Alberta's population, or she's going to bring thousands of police officers from Nigeria and Ghana to police Albertans. She just rolled out a digital ID called the Alberta Wallet, the digital wallet that's going to have all your medical information, and you can just scan this card in any hospital and so on. This was just rolled out, a week or two ago. Look at her actions. They're the actions of a globalist. And so, same with this attack on ivermectin, this attack on cancer patients. People can't believe it and they don't want to believe it. But I think this is what NDP would do. This is what Justin Trudeau would do. And she appointed as Alberta's public health chief a doctor called Dr. Sunil Sukram, who in 2021 said that there must be vaccine mandates everywhere, including grocery stores. He effectively called for the unvaccinated to be starved to death. He begged Justin Trudeau to make him a senator so he could, spread his craziness across Alberta. He's a maid provider. He euthanizes Albertans. He says he's a proud maid provider for the past 5 years. And she appointed him as the public health chief so that if there's any kind of pandemic in the future, he now has been ordered by the courts to run the province and have full control over the province. So again, look at what Danielle does, not what she says.
Wow. Alan, you've had questions too, because you've said the same thing about why are we still vaccinating babies, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, even in the United States, for example, the health attorney general or whoever his title is in Florida just stopped all vaccinations and mandatory vaccinations and vaccinating children and all that kind of thing, in Florida. And, all you have to do is, take a look at what's going on. Robert Kennedy Jr., is getting rid of, the vaccinations as well. He's getting hammered because he did it. I mean, they're saying, so, you say that the warp speed that Trump did was good, but then you're saying that the vaccines, are killing people. And, they're absolutely hammering him. He's going through quite a battle.
Donald Trump came out a few months ago, and I don't know, I think most people didn't catch it, but there's one of the clips in the White House of him speaking, and he said that the pharmaceutical industry is more powerful than the Senate, more powerful than the Congress, and more powerful than the Supreme Court. And he just said this openly. He said, they're just more powerful than all of these branches of government in the United States. So you can imagine Canada being smaller and much more easy to control how much power they have here. In fact, I'm hoping we're trying to arrange a meeting with Florida surgeon Dr. Joseph Ladapo in about 3 weeks. I'm heading to Florida again to give a speech, and we're trying to arrange a meeting with him. A number of us Canadian physicians, including myself, Dr. Trozy, and others, to see what we can do about maybe getting all these persecuted healthcare workers out of Canada, the doctors, the nurses, the pharmacists, because the Conservatives have not backed any of us. In fact, the conservatives have turned a blind eye. They pretend we don't exist. They pretend, no abuse has happened during COVID. And they talk about, bringing in tens of thousands of doctors and nurses from, other countries like the Philippines and so on. But all of the doctors and nurses, Canadian doctors who were abused, have been completely left to rot, have been left without jobs, left without licenses. And so I'm hoping to have a direct meeting with, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, the Florida Surgeon General, to see if Florida can open up maybe a pathway for just all of us to leave Canada. It's a sad statement that this is what it's come to, but it's become very dangerous for people like myself to continue staying in Canada.
Well, I talked to a lady who is one of our viewers on a regular basis, and she got a hold of you and your office, and she was on cancer treatment, and now she's under, what you have coached her to be involved with, and she's loving every minute of it. She was like bubbling, and she's in her 70s or 80s. I mean, it was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. And so she was just shouting on the praises of not only you, but all our program for introducing you, to her, because she was, slowly dying with what was happening to her. And now she feels, the reverse is happening in her life. So that's a very fantastic thing. I mean, what we want to do is expose the lies and tell the truth. That's it. We're not on anybody's side. We're not trying to, grab a hold of anybody's agenda. What is the truth? That's what we want to know. What is the truth? And sometimes, it's hard to find the truth, and unless you get people like Sean is doing, he's going to go on this, what is it called, Corey? The Charter Health Tour or something like that?
Yeah, he's doing the Health Charter Tour and the world's greatest health show. Just telling stories of people that have taken regular natural ingredients and the changes that have happened in their life. Because, the manufacturers of those ingredients, whether it's St. John's Wort or whatever, they're not allowed to mention any benefits at all. Sean's like, well, you know what? I can. And so he's going on tour to tell the stories.
What's amazing about what Sean is doing is he's fighting the encroachment of the federal government into the supplement and herbs, the natural products industry, if you will. And because Health Canada has tabled bills where they want to regulate the entire natural health industry. They want to regulate supplements. They want to regulate minerals or herbal products. And I've seen this legislation, and it is absolutely nightmarish. It is something out of North Korea, totalitarian. They want to, fine manufacturers $5 million if they don't jump through all kinds of loopholes and fill out all kinds of paperwork. And they want to make it impossible for a lot of natural product manufacturers to be able to sell in Canada. And so they want a lot of these products off the shelf. Like you mentioned, St. John's wort and, chamomile and, sweet wormwood, which is used often in cancer, black walnut. These kinds of things, they want these things off the shelves. They don't want Canadians to have access to anything. And so what Sean Buckley is fighting on the federal level, I am fighting on the provincial level. Because the College of Physicians, when they went to court on August 15th, they went to court and they said, Dr. Makis cannot advise and help any cancer patient, and we won't allow him while he lives in Alberta. And it was, of course, they were overstepping their legal jurisdictions because they only have jurisdiction over physicians. And if you're not doing physician work, which is writing, prescriptions and doing lab tests and running diagnoses, CT scans, x-rays, and so on, you're not a physician. If you're just letting patients know about health products, about cutting edge research that's happening. For example, no one knows about the cutting edge cancer research that's happening with ivermectin. There are over 400 studies. I give a lot of these studies to my patients, my clients. To teach them about, look, this exists, this is happening. Even as a physician, 5 years ago, I didn't know about this either because it's hidden. No one will talk about all this fantastic research that's there. So the college went beyond their jurisdiction and their their limits, their legal limits set by provincial law. And they said, we're going to come after Makis anyways, even though, he's not regulated by the college anymore. And so they had a pre-written court decision they brought to court. And they basically just had it ready for the judge to sign before the hearing even started. And everyone who attended the court saw that the judge had already a pre-made decision ready for him, but he was so embarrassed by the violations of the rules of court that they were engaging in that he changed a few things, and instead of a permanent injunction, he gave them a temporary injunction, and he said, look, there has to be a bigger hearing about this in the future. He tried to wash his hands of it because it was so illegal. And but he still gave them some kind of an injunction, and they're coming aggressively after me. But this is what Albertans don't understand. If they succeed in silencing me outside of their jurisdiction, it means they can come after anyone. They can come after every naturopath. They can come after every health coach, every health provider who's not a doctor, and say, you know what, we think you're doing doctor-like things. We're going to get the court to silence you, to bankrupt you. We're going to put all kinds of restrictions on you, and you're not going to help patients with ivermectin or anything else or any kind of herbals. Because I don't use just ivermectin. I use, for example, sweet wormwood. I use vitamin D. I use zinc. These are things that are very basic, but this is what they're coming after. And if they do it to me, they'll have the ability to do it to anybody.
By the way, I just want to say that Premier Danielle Smith or anybody representing her, we would more than happy welcome them on our program to get their side of the story. So if they can get in touch with us, we would honor that, because we want to hear both sides. And if they want to do that, please do.
About a week ago, my lawyer, Catherine Christensen, who you had on a few days ago, she had to issue a cease and desist letter to Premier Danielle Smith and her office because we had about at least 3 patients who came to us and said, this is what Premier Smith's office is telling patients. They're saying, oh, Makis is practicing medicine without a license, and this is a license issue for him and so on. And they're lying to the public. And so we have that on record. We have it documented that Premier's office, now again, Danielle Smith doesn't answer her phone calls. So it's her staffers who were instructed to lie to the public about what's happening. This is legally actionable. And I gave all this information to Catherine, and she said, absolutely, this is defamation. She is literally smearing an Alberta citizen who's just helping cancer patients. And she's lying about me to the public. She's instructing her staffers to lie to anyone who calls, and her office has been flooded with phone calls for the past month. And so she's now, she has to publicly acknowledge that they're going to stop lying to the public. We have to have assurances from the Premier's office. And if they don't, we might consider further legal action against the Premier directly, because she's involving herself directly. Now, I know she's involved directly because I have the documents from the Premier's office all over the court applications that I'm fighting. But Albertans don't know this. Albertans have no idea what's happening. They're blind, they're deaf. They're just like, no, it's not possible. She's our savior. She's going to save Alberta. Look, she's helping us with Alberta independence and so on. Meanwhile, she's doing the exact opposite. We have it on record. If she continues doing this, if she continues lying to the public, we will take legal action against her directly.
I don't understand how they can do this. I mean, you're not even saying, you don't even have a practice. Like you're not even in the medical system, like, part of their healthcare and all that stuff. You literally are just a coach. How in the world can they?
And all I'm doing is sharing publicly available information, research that is peer-reviewed, published, available to the public. But, with information, there is so much information out there. There's good information, bad, or there's information that can help, that can hurt. And so I'm helping cancer patients sort through all that. Let's just get to the information that is most helpful for you. I've published now 2 papers, one on ivermectin with, fenbendazole, and another on just fenbendazole in cancer. Both have been peer reviewed and published in international medical journals. There's more papers coming. There's nothing for the college. And I really want to stress this. When the college showed up to court and they gave my lawyer, Catherine Christensen, only a few days to prepare, and they refused to give her any more time, which is, again, a violation of the rules of court. But when they showed up to court, they had no documents of patient harm. They had really no evidence of that any harm could be caused by any of these repurposed drugs, ivermectin, mebendazole, fenbendazole. They showed up to court empty-handed. They showed up with a pre-written court order that they wanted from the judge. Here, just sign this. Like, this is illegal. This is court fraud. They showed up to court and committed fraud. Now, who did this? This is Scott McLeod, Registrar of the College of Physicians and Surgeons of Alberta, head of the College of Physicians. And he was put in by the Notley government in 2017. He controls the medical licenses of 11,000 doctors. He's gone after every single doctor who has been a freedom doctor in the past 5 years. Dr. Roger Hodkinson, Dr. Daniel Nagassi, Dr. Gary Davidson, who authored the COVID task force report for Danielle Smith. The college has gone after him as his medical license. All these freedom doctors that stood up for medical ethics, this guy persecuted all of them. And he came out and he called ivermectin a livestock dewormer that's dangerous. And Danielle Smith has allowed him to abuse Alberta patients, to abuse Alberta doctors. Did you know that he fired every College of Physicians employee who was either uncomfortable with the jab or didn't want to take the jab themselves? They fired everybody at the college, their own employees, to ensure this monolithic support for big pharma and for these, dangerous and toxic COVID injections. This is the guy that Danielle Smith is working with to come after me, to come after my cancer patients. I don't know how this is still allowed to happen in the province of Alberta, but this is where we're going. And I think Albertans better wake up and better wake up soon, because I'm going to pack up and I'm going to leave. And I'm not going to stop helping patients, cancer patients. I've got cancer patients from around the world. I can pack up, leave, go elsewhere. Now, it's not safe for me to go to another province because the colleges are all connected and they're all serving the federal government. Mark Carney, they're all loyal to Mark Carney. They're basically liberals, even though some of them are in conservative provinces like Alberta or Ontario.
It's crazy they're chasing you out of Alberta. I wonder if it has to do anything with the cancer centers that they're building on their own, right? I mean,
well, you know what? So they put out this shiny new $2 billion cancer center
right.
in the heart of Calgary, right? And I get patients from there that have failed every treatment at this cancer center, and some of them do extremely well. And I joke that my patients in India and China are getting better cancer care than Albertans who go to AHS, who go to these shiny new multi-billion-dollar cancer centers here in Alberta, because they're not allowed to try ivermectin, to try mebendazole or fenbendazole. Whereas, my patients and clients from India, they'll get it over the counter anywhere. Yep. They'll load up, a year's worth of medications, and they're doing fantastic. Their stage 4 cancers are disappearing off their scans. And meanwhile, Albertans are not allowed the same kind of access that someone in India is. It's unconscionable.
It really boils down. Yeah. Really boils down to it's my health, it's my decision, it's my body.
Yeah, right? Where's my body, my choice?
And one thing I want to say is that doctors are not legally allowed to drop patients if the patients want to try something else. Now, this has always been the case. Doctors are not allowed to do that. This is grounds for license suspension for the doctor. You're not allowed to drop patients for their political views, or other things they want to try outside of the medical establishment. This has always been the case. They're not allowed to do that. But this complete erosion of medical ethics started with the COVID vaccines, where doctors started dropping patients if they didn't get COVID vaccinated, or they wouldn't see patients. They said, well, you can't come to our office if you're not COVID vaccinated or if you don't have your latest booster. The college started allowing this because, again, the college is a private corporation in the pocket of Big Pharma. And so they will do whatever Big Pharma wants them to do. Forget, all medical ethics has been thrown out the window. So any cancer patient who gets dropped for trying ivermectin, for trying mebendazole, what the doctor is doing is, I don't know if illegal is the right word, because we don't really have laws to protect us anyways, but what they're doing is unethical and unprofessional, and the doctor should be stripped of their license for doing that. But the college allows them to do it. The college allows doctors to do anything that's in the service of Big Pharma. And so if a patient is, let's say the patient doesn't want the chemo, well, that's not in the service of big pharma. We'll drop you as a patient and the college will sanction that.
Well, I know you're hovering right over the target. You're in the belly of the beast. The last time we had you on, we posted our interview with you. It went up to 4 million, 8 million views. And then it got all taken down. And then we were shadow banned off Twitter and haven't been able to come back from that. But so thank you for that. Thank you for that shadow ban.
I'm sorry about that.
But this is what I'm saying. What you're saying resonates with people. You know what I mean? People are not dumb. You've had enough people come in and out, asking for your help, and they've had success. And when you try and speak the truth, that is one of the hardest things to get out there in a world that does not want the truth to be told. So we appreciate you and everything you're doing. And we'll keep informed of your court case. When's the next one coming up?
We don't know. We filed at the Court of Appeal because we want to get this initial injunction thrown out because it violated all kinds of rules of court. I call it court fraud, but my lawyer is much more tactful, and she just says, well, it violated the procedural fairness and all kinds of rules of court. So in the next few days, we should have a court hearing at the Court of Appeal. We have to get permission, and then we also have a stay application to halt the injunction, and I'm trying to continue helping, cancer patients while staying within all the sort of the legal attacks and legal framework. But, we're fighting this every single day. There'll be court hearings. There'll be probably a couple of them in September, so I'll let you know when they happen.
All right. We thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. We'll have you back. Well, it's great having Makis on. Yeah. Even though every time we play as interviews, they get huge views, but then all the social media formats shut it down, shadow ban us, blah, 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 blah. But you know what, Alan? This right here, the earth and everything in it, the world and its inhabitants belong to the Lord, for he laid its foundation on the seas and established it on the rivers. Psalm 24, 1 and 2. You want to help support our mission, keep this conversation and truth on the air. We are viewer supported. We don't take government funds or special interest groups. It's only because of the generosity of our wonderful viewers that we can keep this conversation on the air. If you'd like to be a part of it, you can go to our website, gotalktruth.com, click on donate. Many different ways to give digitally. If you'd like to do it through the mail, you can. You can make your gift payable to Heritage Christian Ministries Association and send it to 246 Stewart Green Southwest, Suite 3260, Calgary, Alberta, T3H 3C8. And if you'd like prayer, you can. You can call our toll-free number, 1-800-915-0056 in Canada. All right, Dad, we're out of time. We'll see you guys later.
Love you.